All right, welcome to another episode. Today we have King Musa. He's known for helping people think bigger, move smarter, and tap into opportunities that most people overlook. He's currently working on building an AI agency, but he's also big on personal development and several other things we'll dive into. But King Musa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today, and it's amazing.
Yeah, man. So tell me a little bit more about what you're working on. I know we met at UPW, so we can also,
Yeah.
tap on that because I just attended one of the events. But yeah, man, tell me a little bit more about like what you got going on.
High level, man, I just feel like the biggest thing is just exuding light and aura into the universe. And I think that's the biggest thing. And just feeling whole
Mm,
and complete, because I feel like a lot of times
yes.
these things that we're working on, uh, we put a lot of weight on it and it defines sometimes who we are in a sense. And so I feel like
Mm,
I've been able to really work into a place where I've been able to kind of shift and you know transpire some things where like
mm,
I'm fully like locked in the flow state when I'm actually working on my projects, my legacy, my building
yeah.
a strong future. So I'm excited to share some of those things.
Of course, brother. And you touched on a big topic there, which is the idea of identity, right? Who we're becoming, and ultimately who we are will show in our energy and what we're focused on. So, how important has that been for you, bro? It's like constantly leveling up, personal development and identity work. How important has that been for you?
Yeah, huge. I mean, definitely, in personal life, relationships, and then also building like strong working partnerships and just seeing like projects move forward. Because of that, it's like, you get crystal clear too on like, hey, I want to do this AI automation agency. I see, businesses that can benefit from it and
Mm,
scale. Especially the ones that are actually successful, they're looking for ways to optimize and become
yes.
efficient. Yeah. So, I mean, I think translating a lot of that into, building a business is definitely key, and
Mm,
right now with technology, it's evolving. And so, the revenue is there and the profit margins are
mm.
healthy. So, that's the best part.
I know, man. And another thing that comes to mind is this idea of how do we integrate not just business but also other areas of life like investing, and then there's crypto and then there's other projects or investing in a community. So for you, like how have you been able to balance, a lot of these different things that you're pouring into?
Yeah, it's kind of like listening to the body almost, when you're working out in a sense. It's like,
Mm,
okay, uh, I feel like there's a point in time where it's like fun. I'm big on like having fun and, going to events and leveling up and then spending a good amount of time leveraging those principles in real life. And so,
mm,
uh, you know, that's something I've been able to kind of do more so often. So I think just kind of finding that balance, work-life balance too. So, I think is key because a lot of times, especially like, when you're a business owner, it's like almost 24/7. So, uh, time management obviously is key,
mm.
carving out. So that's why, like, I feel like personal development's kind of like, speaking of investing, it's like you're 10xing your own mindset and
Yes,
growth so
man.
that when you are out on the field, you're pretty much optimizing your skills and your time. So it's pretty interesting how that works. Like the more you invest in yourself, it pays back tenfold.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, and even myself, like I've seen the fruits, but also I can resonate with people who are maybe on the fence, right? And they've never really invested in themselves or in events or masterminds, conferences. So for you, dude, like what would be your advice for someone who's on the fence and they know that if they invest in themselves, they will grow more, but they haven't? Like, what's your advice?
It's a tough one. I would say, because I feel like the way I see it is like events are cool for like networking and getting some inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just like the start of it. Uh, a mastermind is a little bit more like intimate where you can get that overall experience and, really have a euphoric breakthrough. And so I've tried, a bunch of different things. Like obviously, we touched on it. UPW, your physiology working out is
Mm,
like, a big thing. So I think that gets overlooked and is underrated a lot of
that's
times. And
true.
I've even gone further into like hypnosis and
Oh, sure.
some of these other things that like I feel like when you're tapping into your imagination, a lot of times,
Mm,
the heart knows the answer, like TR
mm,
mentions. So it's like tapping into that will unlock so many things. And you'll find yourself knowing, like, hey, when it comes to one-on-one coaching, it's worth making that investment because that's where you actually move the needle because you're getting that personalized one-on-one
yeah.
and it's more customized and tailored to your specific like lifestyle. I feel like so to
Mm.
me that's like the best part for sure.
100%, bro. And a big piece too is like, dude, sometimes we feel that, right? Like you said, like in the gym, listen to the body, but then we don't. Some people would use a word, we're not obedient. Like we don't follow through, or we say, I'm good, right? So what's the guidance there, bro, where maybe we're not paying attention to our intuition, right? Like how do we actually get in that groove?
I think that's the biggest thing that like the last couple years I've invested in, really just learning more about the universe as well and like the laws of the universe. More, of course, esoteric and
Oh
hermetic
yeah.
law. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So it's super, super amazing. And I feel like the more you're able to tap into that and actually, it's like the, seven skills of top performing people, seek to be like first understand and then understood kind of thing. So
Mhm.
that's the way I see it. Like, it's like, you know, let me understand the universe first so I know
Mm.
how it operates. And then, like, I can pretty much speak with the universe and have the universe understand my, you know, perspective and
Yeah.
vision and help align. So that way, I'm moving forward in the right direction. But yeah, I think it just definitely tapping more into it'll unlock a lot of things.
Yeah, dude. Now when we talk about hermetics, one of the ones that I really resonate with, and it's interesting because if you think about it, it's probably a lot of the state management stuff as well. It's
Mhm.
the idea of polarity, where you may be feeling sad, but it's like that's one end of the other end, right? Which is happy or grateful, right? So, give us an example, bro. Like, how are you using some of those hermetic principles in your life? How have you implemented them to really level up?
Yeah, polarity for sure is a really good one because, I think when you can kind of stay like even in the wins too,
Mm,
like, you know, definitely celebrate, because that high vibration is key, and um, I think the biggest thing is like having integrity, with yourself and others, of course, uh, and your goals, so like that. And then figuring out a way to like, really follow through um, and find out what's holding you back too, I think is key, like I think sometimes we focus too much on like, what we want and not enough time like focusing on, okay, well, what's possibly holding me back? What else can I do to optimize, and then from there, just making really good decisions. So that's kind of
Right.
the framework that I've been operating from the last like, couple of years, just because, you know, I've kind of experienced, you know, in my personal life, some changes, and
Mm.
that's been a really interesting journey for me. So yeah, I mean, I'm here now because I feel like a lot of individuals can relate and are probably going through something similar. So I feel
Mm.
like, you know, I want to share my greatest test and make that, my greatest testimony,
Mm.
and put it out there in the universe. But definitely law of compensation, I would say, is my favorite right now
Okay.
because, yeah, because it's like, compensation, reciprocation. Like, no matter, a lot of times you almost question, like, am I really, like, is this work that I'm doing going to pay off? And
Mm.
it's law that the more work you put in, it's law that you're going to get paid one way or
Mm.
another. We don't know from where, you
Yeah,
know.
dude.
So just knowing that and trusting and having faith, I think, is really the biggest breakthrough.
Dude, and having faith, it's easy to say, right? And trusting, it's very easy to understand. What gets in our way, bro? What gets in people's ways
Mhm.
to actually like really lock into faith and just trusting?
Yeah, I would say, especially as entrepreneurs, being afraid to fail, and make
Mm.
mistakes, or not even mistakes, because it's not even mistakes. It's more like lessons learned. And so, when I started my first full-time business, went all in, I had my corporate career as my cushion, and I, like they say, burn the boats, and,
Yeah,
went all in. I got to scale to like 12 cars and hit 30K months. So,
let's go,
I
dude.
definitely lived the dream, man, and, you know, got to, experience like having a Porsche and an exotic,
Mm.
like, living by the beach. So it was
Right.
deeply, euphoric, in itself. And I think when you have a dream, it's like, uh, probably one of the best experiences actually living that dream. So, um, a lot of visualization,
Mm.
because the mind doesn't know really the difference,
Yeah,
whether you're actually living it in real life
it's
or in your
crazy.
imagination. So it's pretty interesting. And, you know, I think, just going for it, but also too, like, I think initially, especially for business owners and entrepreneurs, or, maybe you're like the fourth guy in the company, that's cool too.
Yeah.
And you're playing to your strengths and you have really good skills that you enjoy doing. I
Mm.
think is super dope, because then, like, you could really, move the needle and make a name for yourself and build a brand that way. Because then, uh, you're almost like getting out of your own way and saying,
Yeah.
you know what, like, even with AI, like, look at what it's doing. It's helping optimize, not necessarily like replace. There's a lot of like backlash from it, but I think if
Mm.
anything, it's more so like, having a team. It's
Yeah.
cliche, like the teamwork makes the dream work,
Mm.
but I think having the right people on your team, and doing things like this more so often. I think recently, like, Ty Lopez has talked about, if you're, in a downward spiral in your life, it's probably because you're isolating a lot. So go out there and socialize. Yeah, like he's
Yeah.
promoting that, and that's like super, like, low key, like, underrated. So
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I love hearing that. What are some other things that you're like, man, this is underrated. This is needs to
yeah,
be talked about. What else, bro?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the way I see it is like you have your foundation, like, uh, and I've been there where I'm building up to the foundation. So you're
I
you're
know.
literally grassroots, right? So,
Yeah, dude.
So my first, thing, others would kind of compare it to like the Maslow's hierarchy, of course.
Mm,
I like to keep it real simple, man. Like that's I think one of the biggest things that I've shifted was like try to keep it 1, 2, 3 ABC, because complexity is the enemy of execution,
yeah.
right? So,
Mm,
ABC is like foundation, momentum, expression. So that's my message. Yeah. That's actually
mm,
like my message is something I personally created in my mind and my imagination. So I
mm,
feel like, really having that strong future and then, that could look like your corporate career, right? Your
mm,
momentum could look like your agency, you're building, which, I want to help others build, and create a community and a mastermind. The last one is full expression, freedom, financial freedom,
yeah.
inspiring others, really being able to build a legacy that, you're also building like long-term wealth and long-term wealth preservation and stuff.
Mm,
Uh, and in addition to that, for sure, like the spiritual piece is like the most important out of all of that, that's like the full circle. So,
yeah, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I mean, for a lot of us, it's interesting, right? Because we kind of know what we want, but then for a lot of people, they really don't have clarity, right? So for you,
Hmm.
um, when you are starting a new project like this agency and the AI work, what's your
Yeah.
process, or what would you recommend somebody to do to get clarity, to build a foundation, to be self-expressed?
I think sales is underrated because I feel like sales is the best way to expedite your personal growth. I feel like,
Mm,
uh, that's just one way. Of course, I mean, I would say for sure, it goes back to really doing the shadow work and the inner work and healing the inner child and, really finding out what's holding you back. And I think that's what most people are afraid of.
mm,
Uh, you know, and it's like, uh, and I'll just ask the question, like, where do you think the most regrets are, right? We all
mm.
know the answer, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing for a lot of people. It comes down to also their values, right, or their needs. Like,
Mhm.
what are they putting forth as a priority, and then is that actually aligned? I know you brought up that idea as well. Alignment. We're out of alignment. That's why we're not fully expressed, right? So yeah, dude. I mean, everybody's just a little slightly different.
Yeah, and I mean, I was gonna say, like, it's harsh to say, it's just all the regrets are in the grave.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy to think like that, but sometimes you have to really say, you know what, like, do I really want this? And
Mm,
I feel like I'm willing to put the work in. So,
yeah.
sometimes it is a little bit scary because it's something new. It's like uncharted territories that
Yes.
you're into. And that could be scary sometimes because you don't know what to expect, but like Tony
Right.
says, it's like you want some uh, variety,
Right. That's
you
true. That's true, dude. So then, like for example, let's say somebody starts the project, like you're starting a project or you're already on there. But then
Yeah.
naturally, we talked about faith and trust, right? But then let's say the doubts start to come in, bro, and then they're like, well, it's not happening fast enough, big enough, it's not out there enough, right? Like, what would you tell that person who's already started? It's not that they need help starting, but they actually need more help on continuing when things aren't going to their expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say all, but I've made like, let's just say I've had the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
And like, I've known what it felt like to want to take over the world, so to speak, and like do all these things, and you feel like you can conquer, and it's when you realize like, you know what? It's actually, let me make my job easier and like pick one thing, you know?
Mm,
And that's why it goes back to like having a really strong support team, hence like a coach too,
mm,
that can really like build with you
mm,
and really, stay engaged in those times where you're feeling that way to kind of have that support, because there will be on the journey, and just getting crystal clear, like, you know what, I see opportunity here. I feel like I can make the most of this vehicle.
mm,
And eventually, like, that's the expression piece that'll unlock my ability to, find my true expression,
mm,
and, and that's where I think your flow state, staying locked in,
mm,
activates. And, yeah, just staying in that flow state, I feel like you're actually able to transcend time and bend reality in a way where your quantum leap is a lot more, like I'll say, on steroids. Like I started taking, because I feel like in the gym I kind of plateaued. I started taking the healthy steroids. No, I'm kidding, but it's it's creatine, like football
yeah,
use in high school and college, right?
right,
But it's like science will back it and say, well, look, when you're actually lifting scientifically, the creatine holds the water in your
mm,
muscles. And that's what, you know,
yeah,
so I think it's just sort of like building to your momentum.
that's
I feel
right.
helps a lot.
Yeah, dude, that's the biggest thing because whenever we start something, I think the idea there is we can either get distracted with the shiny objects or we can stall and delay and just fucking not move forward, right? So for those that now are moving forward but they want more momentum, right? And I know you talked about like
Yeah.
bending reality and tapping into the universe, bro. Like, what would you
Mhm.
recommend for those people? What are some standards, habits, routines they can do every single day, every single week to ensure they're in full alignment?
I think it starts with the foundation. Um, for me, that's T-Mobile right now. So, I got into the game of communications and like we're doing now, staying connected and,
Yes,
you know, uh, you know, hopefully this inspires someone, even
yes.
one person. That's my goal. Even
Mm,
with the art and the music and performing, it's like, uh, finding that passion and truly like for me it started with basketball. That was like my first love,
right.
so I think translating those skill sets where you're a part of a team, really transcends. So I think athletes kind of have an advantage, especially in sales too, because it's kind of that competitive spirit in a cool
Mm,
like team atmosphere way where it's like you're cheering each other on,
exactly.
So, you know, but yeah, I would say definitely have like a career that you feel really secure and solid in, so
Mm,
that way when you are uh, working on yourself, you feel really good about it, But I think definitely meditation. Meditation
mm,
is key. Uh, we're like you know transcending into a place where you could have an outer body experience,
mm,
and tap into the mind in a way that's so powerful. Um, so I think meditation, yoga is awesome. I find myself playing my best basketball, when I feel like I'm zen.
yeah, dude.
Best experience, so it's just euphoric, man. And yeah, and so I would say like those couple of things, some of the things I mentioned before, But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, just tapping into a community of like-minded individuals too, like us,
Mm,
what we're doing here, just sharpening the saw like iron,
yeah,
sharpening iron too. So it's
that's
fire.
that's right, man. I love that. And then for let's say the individual who gets it, right? Like they see that and they're seeing other people maybe tapping into community, but then they're the
Yeah.
lone wolf, right? Or they're like, I got it, I can figure this out. It's me and myself and I. Like, what's the advice for somebody like that beyond maybe the shadow work, because that's really where it probably starts. But what's maybe a belief that they should adopt to help them ultimately break through?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, so for me, uh, I do have this passion of like, initially building your net worth to $1 million, right? So that could look like your primary residence. It could look like an investment property.
Mm,
It could look like now you have your foundation. Think about a business you want to start, or some 401k investments, maybe Bitcoin, actually uh, go for it. Put 15% of your income, into these investment
yeah.
vehicles. So I try to play it to where, the four quadrants of Robert Kiyosaki, right? It's like employee, small business. Eventually, yeah, if there's a desire there to grow a business, of a team of two or more,
Mm,
and then use some of that to invest. So I think that's like a really good formula for like financial freedom. So
yeah.
I think it's definitely easily overlooked. And then that's where I feel like you could really truly express yourself because now you have the resources to, give. Yeah, right. It's
Mm,
like you want to. So I think having that purpose too, like knowing that you're
yeah.
already whole, right? And now these resources are leveraged to build a message and a community and help others do the same, right? Because then you're pretty much like building the next generation of like rock stars and you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
true hoopers and
Yeah, man, for sure, dude. Because now we started to pull in this idea of contribution, right? Where maybe someone who is like that, like a lone wolf, or we find ourselves thinking about just ourselves, or I just got off a call where the guy is successful financially, he's got like everything you would think of, but then it's like, yeah, but then he's like divorced, right? And then has 4 kids, and it's kind of like, damn, sometimes what happens is like because we were so focused on growth or focused on significance, we forgot this other piece, which is like giving back maybe to our spouse or to our family or to our something beyond that. So yeah, man, as we start to look at that and the spiritual needs, like
yeah.
how do you help someone understand, like, man, you gotta maybe think bigger?
I think relationships you touched on and for sure having a bigger like aim and a bigger target is super key, which I want to touch
Mm,
on. I think the topic though of relationships is probably one of the most intricate and complex. At the same time, like because I've spent the last like year really doing a deep dive, because I'm pretty much like I mean I didn't plan on sharing this. I'm on a similar boat and I'm
yeah,
actually happy to share it because
yeah,
you know what, for that person who's in that situation, like that's part of your story, it's
yeah.
like I feel like that's something that in life it's part of the journey and
Mm,
you know, especially as entrepreneurs, it's key to keep an eye on that because it's easy to really, get consumed by your projects a lot of times,
yeah,
and you know, having that balance and knowing, that family is super key. Uh, I think is probably one of the biggest takeaways from this
yeah.
pod. I want to share and really say that you know, uh, family is going to be there when, when it's the end. Like that's
That's the
that's
thing, dude.
exactly. be there, so you kind of have to think about that, and maybe it's your fans too. I don't know, but for sure, family will be there for you, through those times. And the reason why I got on the pod was actually to touch on that because
Mm,
uh, I feel like, for me, um, had that not happened, you know, I don't know if I would get this far in my journey in
yeah.
self development,
It's
and
wild,
actually
man.
doing the shadow work. And, my biggest, and I'll share it, I'll really put this out in public and open that I think vulnerability is probably the
Yeah,
most powerful thing. Some of the best hit songs are
I
the most
know.
vulnerable, you got Drake, man. He's got
Yeah,
so many of them, right? It's like, you know, I'm just saying you could do better,
I know, for real,
It's-
man.
but it's like that connection, that vibe that you really connect with, and it makes you human. And I feel like experiencing that, even though it can be traumatic, it can probably be the biggest breakthrough too, because for me, it was like, oh, I'm not good at, so what's the point here?
Mm,
Like, why should I go out of my own way and do these things for others, or even improve myself? And it's
yeah.
like, well, no, maybe I should have, going back to the belief, I should have a belief, or let let me adopt a belief of like alignment, and
Mm,
knowing myself truly who I am, and that, you know, I'm one of the chosen ones, we're one of the chosen ones
yeah,
to, really have experienced a hero's journey,
yeah.
and really like embrace it. So I just feel like right now, like I had a breakthrough in this moment,
That's great, man.
realizing like this is really the nucleus of growth, and to share it, man, it means everything. And I think that's definitely like what Tony talks about. One of the secrets to,
I know.
you know, um, connecting with others and building a community, and having fulfillment. So yeah, man, it's definitely been a journey from like UPW fast forward, and I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to like building, some more memories.
absolutely, brother. Yeah, and I mean, likewise, that's why I bring it up too, because for me, back in those days when actually we met in 2020, whatever it was, 2026, 2020, uh, 2016, 2017. So for me, what happened was, yeah, I was starting my own business and I was newly married, dude, and I didn't realize it. I was like, it was kind
Yeah.
of like in hindsight, it's kind of dumb, right? But I thought like, well, she's gonna get it because she loves me and she's gonna give me all the space that I need. And it's like, I wasn't even thinking about, wait, hold
Mhm.
on, like a relationship requires presence, connection,
Yeah.
pouring into her, right? Versus like just my needs. And I was like unaware. So yeah, dude. I mean, I've put it out there many times where
Mhm.
we've been on the brink of divorce and we've struggled and
Mhm.
like any other marriage and any a couple. Um, but what always really kept us together is the values, right? It's like what do we
Yeah.
value? What are we about? And also some people
It's
it could be
power.
controversial, right? But some people maybe value or don't value is the best way to put it. Some people don't value sacrifice that much anymore,
Yeah.
because maybe we don't have to, right? Maybe we don't. And so again, just vulnerability there on to your point. It's like, so I
Mhm.
come from a Catholic background, Mexican, for example, and we live in an era where it's like swipe right, swipe left, and it's like, accessibility to the next person is so easy, it's so readily available, man. So for me, as a man, that was one of the decisions when the first time I moved away from my wife and we had or from my girlfriend at the time, not my wife, we had a
Yeah.
long-term relationship, man, and I
Yeah.
was out in college, nobody was there, but I
Yeah,
clearly remember, man. I won't, say his name, but one of my buddies
yeah,
had a girlfriend, but then he was doing his thing, a little playboy, and he's like, he's looked at me like bro, like you're young, you're fit, like you're smart, why are you just with one person? I was like, well, it's like the Pandora's box, bro, and I was like, once you open that thing up, it's no going back. And then it hit him because he's like, bro, you're right. Because ever since he was telling me using his words, yeah, ever since I cheated on my first girlfriend, like I always now have that need to like
yeah.
always have somebody else. So that was his experience. So the reason I say all this is that sacrificing sometimes is
Yeah.
the ticket depending on your values, brother. But what would you say to that as we start to wrap up, and maybe any additional thoughts around this big topic?
Honestly, I don't know if I could really now that I open like this can, I'm like, oh man. It's 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 one of those things that I think like it's like a muscle and if I had to say one thing, it would be high vibration connected with integrity. Uh, that would be like kind of going back to that. I kind of skimmed through it, but like it's a muscle,
Mm-hmm.
just knowing like if you understand that your word is law in the universe, and uh yeah, I mean it's like you build your reputation for so long, and like you mentioned your friend, it could happen in a split second, but you know what, man? I mean, I don't think there's any need for self-sabotage or feeling down because I think, as I've developed the ability to really understand the universe, shame and guilt and all these different
Yeah,
things, it's not worth it. It's actually
yeah,
going to bring your vibration so low
yeah.
that like by the time you catch up, it's like a year fast forward, you've actually like, slowed your growth down, man. So
Crazy,
so the biggest thing with that is like, just learn from it and then move forward and just make the next, journey, that much better. And it's okay to like say, you know what, I'm honest with myself and where I am today. I'm gonna work on myself, and then how to figure out like your next steps. I mean,
mm,
if you're gonna be like, hey, I just want to do my thing, then that's cool as long as you're honest about it and you're like, hey, this is where I'm at, but the minute you commit, then it's like, yeah, that's the first step to success. Like you're
mm,
fully all in and now you're locked in. So just make sure whoever you're locked in with,
yeah,
like you mentioned, really has that same like level of frequency, and I think that's key. And
mm,
just kind of take your time with things. That's like with anything, but definitely, I would say for sure, you know, continue to work on the inner self, and then you know, eventually you'll have those right decisions you're making
yeah,
in like a perfect streak that like your intuition is so on point. And
mm,
when you feel like you don't need anything or anyone in this universe, I feel like that's when your vision starts to manifest because it feels like effortless. It's almost like uh, it's interesting, and you could touch on this more because I want to hear from you about this piece where, like, when you're constantly thinking about what you want, it's almost like you're constantly thinking about what you don't have.
exactly, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's pretty powerful. So I want to hear from you about that because I
yeah,
think
man.
that sharing that is key.
Yeah, dude. Like it is interesting because too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right?
Mm,
Like too much chocolate, too much, let's just call it out, too much sex, too much coffee, too much whatever, bro. Like it's gonna actually do the opposite of what it initially intended,
yeah.
right? So therefore, what I've realized in my own personal experience, bringing it to business is like, for example, sales. When you want a deal to close so badly, it actually messes everything up because you show up, needy or less than or almost like seeking approval. And it's interesting, man, because it's like obviously we want the best for us and we want the best for the other person in the business interaction. But
Yeah.
then what happens is like our own desire, or really what happens there, bro, is that now it becomes like a lust, like our own need goes above the true peace, which in a business should be impact, it should be growth, it should be like, let's do something great together, or let me see how I can help you, and maybe I can help you. If not, like, that's detached. That's
Mhm.
like, that's very much, it's very much, what's the word I'm looking for here? Yeah, detached. Yeah,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
congruent to the essence of business, where Tony talks about it. Business is a spiritual
Uh,
game of who can give the most. It's just like, okay, boom, how do I give the most? Therefore, I need to, like, not, I need to be the one that needs it the least. Because then
mm,
then when you do that, you give the person space. You give the person a chance to think through what do you want? What do you need? Can I even help you with that?
yeah.
So I think, yeah, to hit the nail on the head, it's kind of like, and that goes in anything, bro, because now we can bring in relationships and to be vulnerable. Whenever I want, intimacy with my wife more than she does, right? Like, it's very obvious, and that she won't feel it, right? So she'll be like, I'm not really feeling it. So like, fuck. So I think an even powerful question too is, what can we do, right? What can we do? What do you do when you catch yourself wanting something a little bit too much?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. Honestly, um, I would say like just taking a step back in a sense and just redefining like who you are in a sense. Um, and just reminding yourself like you're already whole and complete, the day we
Mm,
were born. So it's like we don't need anything as long as like, you believe in something, hopefully, like
yeah.
I believe in a higher power. And, obviously that's like I respect everyone's belief system and, it's something personal in your heart, cultivating that relationship with the creator. So it's like
Mm,
it's in a sense personal. So I think just tapping back into that is the biggest piece,
mm,
because the creator is pretty much the one who's going to drive this vision forward. And in a sense, it's like uh, the biggest thing. And, I think I'll wrap with this is just surrender, just surrender. Yeah.
there
And
we go.
yeah, just surrender, man, and just like hold on tight to that rope of faith, knowing that where you're going is going to be way bigger than anything you could ever imagine.
Mm,
Because the creator is someone who's obviously going to. So I would say like getting closer to the universe. I'll say it that way,
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say it like that. I like
yeah,
that, just to keep it neutral and
yeah,
universal.
yeah. I
you
got you.
know, and honestly, I was thinking about my walking in, like I'm gonna talk about T-Mobile, my album, like
I know, dude.
AI, technology, like, but it's like, you know what, man, like those things can wait. Like this is what really truly matters the most. And
Wow.
for me, I think that's what I'm most happy with, knowing that on the pod, I was able to like really just be super authentic and
Mm,
whole and, really vulnerable, man. And it's sometimes not easy because it's like, wow, like, there's going to be haters, there's going to be,
yeah.
congratulators. Either way, I
Mm,
know the more haters you have, the more like your vision is manifesting that, like, they make the biggest noise. So it's like, just keep doing your thing, man. Like, no matter what, I know I'm inspired by your work and I see like the type of,
Likewise.
guests you're attracting. So, you're definitely like, I want to see you on stage, man. And
I
like,
know.
I'm
That'll
sure
be cool.
it's here soon. And yeah, man, whenever you're in LA, and vice versa, I think you're
Yeah,
up
dude.
north. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
100%, brother. Well, I always love to end with a question where we've touched on it, but just to kind of really drive
mhm,
the point home, man. Let's say, for example, right, that this is the last message that you're ever gonna get to put out to the world, for example. In that
yeah.
moment, bro, like, what is that core
hmm
central message that you want, like, the people to really know?
Um, I think just stand on the shoulders of the giants, and lean in and uh, Mamba mentality, for sure.
Mhm.
Just learn from the greats who have done it and already made the imprint. Why reinvent the wheel? Obviously add your touch, like I mentioned, foundation, have that in place, your momentum,
Mm,
build something of your own, even if it's writing a book, maybe a movie. Like nowadays you got Magic Cam. It's a free app on, the iPhone or even Android, and it's like a $2,000 camera that you can have and film and just
mm,
like edit on Final Cut Pro, or
yeah,
even Insta has like an edits tool, like,
easy,
and just
dude.
put your content out there, so it's amazing how much momentum, we're able to generate these days. And then last but not least, definitely full expression like we're doing now. It's probably one of the most euphoric
Mm,
feelings. And of course, express with the universe. And I feel like with the universe, like Tony says, life is happening for us, and yeah, just tap in with us, with
that's
Tony.
good.
I think you're in good hands no matter what. After that, it's like you pretty much have the golden ticket, like in Willy Wonka type
Yeah, for real. I
we
love it,
making
man.
movies.
I know, man. I know. I love it. Well, look, it's been a pleasure as always, brother. And yeah, so tell the people where can they find out about you and how
Yeah,
would you like them to connect with you?
man, this was a pleasure as well. King Musa official on all platforms. Definitely Insta is like the biggest one that I'm, pushing right now in terms of like content, messaging, and just having fun, and
Yeah.
documenting pretty much. That's,
Yeah.
like Gary V,
Yeah.
just put your stuff out there, it's
Uh,
just, you know, the best thing you can ever do. Because if you think about it, like 30, 50 years ago, we had yellow pages, so
yeah.
look at this opportunity that we have in front of us. Might as well, leverage it to the best of our ability and do things like this. I think this was amazing. I want to do this more often, and maybe pick one topic and kind of,
I know. For
you
sure,
know,
man.
go a little bit of a deeper dive, so to speak. I think business is a fun one, investing, kind of like that. Uh, but I think there'll be opportunities in real life too, like masterminds.
Hmm.
So, hopefully, school community,
Yeah.
stay tuned. Uh, but that's definitely something I feel like leveraging this pod will be the stepping stone or the graduation to something bigger, I feel like. So the year of the horse 2026, man, it's our year for sure.
Let's go, dude. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.